Hello friends, and welcome to Changing Views. We're going to have a slight change in programme this week. We were hoping to start our model narrowboat, our scale boat, but it's taking a little bit more planning than we thought, because we have choices to make on the actual model before we get to the full size. Plus, we've watched a programme this week by Foxes Afloat, Sean and Colin, and it was Colin mainly talking about his anxiety, and it made us think about this because I do have, and I have suffered from anxiety, and it may be a problem for us or may not. So this week we thought we'd have a bit of a swap round, and we're going to do a two-part video. First part is going to be about injuries, illness and diseases on the boat, and the second one is going to be about anxiety. So if you're here for just anxiety, there'll be a timestamp underneath in the description. I hope to get some comments on this week. We're not getting a lot of comments, but we're hoping we're going to have a subject where people want to join in and give us some comments. So if you're just here for the anxiety, jump forward to that point and we'll see you there. So, right, injury, illness and disease. All three can be a problem on a boat. We all know the problems of finding doctors and dentists, etc. while cruising the cut. It's well documented, and we won't go into that because it's an ongoing problem for people. Injury, I mean, you're on a large moving vessel, 57 foot of steel, and it's inevitable someone's going to fall in, bang themselves, catch themselves in a lock, pull a muscle, slip, fall, strain, and it can lead to problems with the boat, because if you're laid up for a week, you're going to have to contact the Canal and Riverboat Trust, and especially if you're in a position where you're supposed to move within a short period of time. So that's the obvious. We've seen some people battling different illnesses on the boat. One of the vloggers in the middle of the pandemic, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer, and they had to take the boat back to a home mooring, back to near their home. Luckily they still had a position they called home because of family. I don't know how that would affect us if something terrible like that happened, because we wouldn't have a home mooring or a home. But all these are things that may happen, and there's no point in worrying about things that might happen or may not happen. So that's the ins and outs of it. I mean, my own fear for some of the things is you do build up a relationship, especially if you got like a dentist. You want to go to a dentist, you get a relationship with them, you get to some trust with them. If you're cruising the cut and you're moving all around England and you suddenly find yourself with a toothache or a broken tooth or something the like, you've got a problem, because you're going to go and try and find someone and read up reviews, and or you're going to be travelling back to a hometown. I think for this reason we're going to start our journeys in a position where there is a town and facilities that we could always go back to. So, I mean, that's the brief. It's only a brief thing on the problems on the narrowboat. I think we've had enough problems. There's a lot of positives, and I think we're about to move on to it. But let me just now go on to the second part of this vlog, and that's my problems with anxiety. So, see you there. So, here we are, and this part of the vlog is actually to discuss my anxiety. I do have what I think is classed as free-flowing anxiety. Colin on Foxes Afloat was talking about his problems, and we've watched Foxes Afloat from more or less the start, and it was one of the reasons we decided we wanted to go on a narrowboat. It was one of the things that cemented it for us. But we knew that Colin had some ADHD, I think it is. He gets overwhelmed by things, and he needs to be calm. And we watched this closely because I do suffer from anxiety. and it's multi-level anxiety, and I want to talk about it because people have anxiety and people suffer with anxiety, and I think it's debilitating to you and to your family and your friends, and it's awkward, it's horrible. I've had anxiety probably since about 1991. When it first came, it was in the form of I would say something like a separation anxiety. I was living alone in a caravan. Keep that in mind, keep that in thought. Caravan for the boat people. I was living in a caravan, and I was working multiple jobs, and I'd go home, and on a lovely sunny day, if I found myself at home, I'd try and relax and open all the windows and put the blinds up and relax and have a nice sleep in the sun. But when I woke up, I'd be disorientated and panicky. I don't know why, but from that day to this, I can't sleep during the day. I just can't sleep. And if I suddenly say I'm going to go to sleep, Kelly knows I'm not feeling very well, because I wouldn't normally sleep during the day. Now jump forward from this, because that seemed to go away when I met my wife Kelly, and it's only when we started to get into life and the stresses and things of life that I had a bad experience once with an allergy to something. I think it was an allergy to something, but it triggered an anxiety and panic, and it went on for I think 3 weeks in the end before it actually left me. 3 weeks. Never took really anything for it. In hindsight, I should have took some antihistamines because it was an allergy, but we didn't know it was an allergy. But it scarred me mentally, and it left me with a problem that every time now, because I couldn't cope for those 3 weeks, because those 3 weeks I was totally unable to cope with things. Now, if I get to a point where I have a deadline to meet or something that's not going well, I was watching the Northern Narrowboat a couple of weeks, the Narrowboat Pirate, and they've got a duvet wrapped around the propeller. They had to go down the weed hatch and get it out. And it took them, I think, 3 hours in the end. I mean, but when it got to like the first bit where they said they'd been at it for an hour, it made me think, seriously. I thought, if I got down in that weed hatch and I tried to get it out, and it got to a point where I realised I couldn't, that could actually trigger my anxiety, because I feel unable to cope. And it's strange, because I can cope in some very strange situations and some very active situations, because I was trained for it once in a job. So I'm very good at coping in emergencies. But things I have to deal with on my own, it does give me a bit of a problem. It really does. And I looked at that and I thought, wow, what state would I be in if I had to spend 3 hours trying to get something off the prop? But again, you have other people that could help you with that. So I wasn't too stressed over that. But it does tend to be in times of where it really gets to me is when I'm up against a deadline. I've got something that only I can do, that I have to pull through, and things don't go well. And this is what causes my anxiety. But the triggers, let's talk about triggers now. Well, let me stop for one moment and say this to you. If you're watching this and you've got anxiety, you're not alone. There's hundreds and hundreds and millions of people that suffer from anxiety. But I know you're probably feeling like you're alone. I did. I thought, why me? Why am I off my head? Why am I a bit crazy? Why am I this? Why am I that? And I was walking in the mall once, and I read a book. I picked up a book on anxiety, and it said on the first page, the first thing you need to realise is it's not just you. And I broke down in tears in the mall, because I was in the middle of an anxiety problem, and it just really, really struck home with me. And since then, I've dealt with it. I've dealt with it. Never taken any medication for it. But I just want to tell you about some of the triggers, because for me it's here. This is my anxiety area, because Colin was talking about he thinks he has illness anxiety or health anxiety, and it struck home because it's very similar to what I suffer with, and I call it ear, nose and throat. Ear, nose and throat. For example, a couple of days ago I woke up in the morning and I'd been late for it, and I'd gone kind of, I think wax had moved in my ear, so I'd gone kind of deaf in my ear. There was a kind of a deafness stroke, numbness stroke, my ear would pop stroke, a few things. And as soon as I woke up, I kind of sensed it, and I thought, don't panic. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering, don't panic. Our English viewers will realise that, but it was like, don't panic. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself, I had anxiety. And my anxiety means I go from this room into the store, be it daytime, evening. If it's daytime, I seem to go into the next part of the building and stand in there. If it's night time, I'll go into the store and I'll stand at the front door. I don't know what it is about the front door that gives me some kind of control. I don't know, because I get terrible fight or flight. I get terrible fight or flight. So the triggers are my eyes, nose and throat. So this one was my nose. The week before I got something stuck in my tooth and tried everything to get it out. Every time I realised that it was stuck in there, it caused anxiety and panic, and I almost had a panic attack over it. Full grown panic attack. It was horrible. Now, as it was, I went to the store to get a stronger toothbrush to see if I could dislodge it, and it freed itself, and that was the end of that. But apart from the fact that the cause had gone, but the anxiety hadn't gone. The anxiety I've said to a lot of people, the anxiety can come on in a second. It normally takes about 5 seconds for that anxiety to totally grip you. But it can take a day, a couple of days, a week. I think the longest I had it was for like 3 weeks. 3 weeks of not being in control. 4 weeks even. I've had it longer here. But I've really kind of got on top of it now, and I don't really consider, until recently when something went wrong and I had the same kind of thing, but I don't really feel as though I suffer from it like that now, because I've realised a few things. But if it's anything related to my eyes, my teeth, my throat, my nose, my nose, I get a sensation in my nose like my nose is blocked, but it's not. It almost feels as though you want to do this with it, but it's not. There's nothing there. And it sends me into panic, and that sensation can be there for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and it's normally an allergy, and if I take an allergy tablet it can sometimes go. But if it isn't an allergy, and this is where your anxiety drives you crazy, because if it isn't an allergy, taking too many allergy tablets drives your system up, which gives me anxiety. So I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. And this is the turmoil you go through with anxiety. It's like a balancing act. It's totally like a balancing act. You just don't know, if I do this, will it make me better, or make me feel worse? Well, I'll do this instead, but that could make me feel better, or it could make me feel worse. Where'd you go? You start double guessing yourself, double guessing everything. So I think the best thing I can say to you is, if you have anxiety, please listen to this now. First of all, you'll realise eventually that you get through them. You do get through them. When you come out the other side, you realise that you're not going to die from it. But you do feel that way while you're having it. Try and keep in the present moment. First thing when you get anxiety is your mind goes ahead. I end up in a home suffering from anxiety and panicking. This is the way your mind goes. And try and do some meditation. Meditation is a great help. I mean, it really is a great help. Maybe if you're not feeling anxious, I think of it as more of a preventative measure. When I'm anxious and someone says try and control your breathing, that's one of my anxieties. So they send me into turmoil Try and alter your breathing while you're having a panic attack. Yeah, right. But I want to tell you that I've never taken anything for this anxiety. People tell me I should, but I've never have done. I don't like popping pills. I don't like changing your outlook with pills and potions. It's not on. I do take a herbal supplement called Stress Ease when I'm feeling stressed. It's based on L-theanine, I think it's called. It's a plant extract, and it's in most things to keep you calm. If you take a lot of the stress things, they've all got L-theanine in it. I'm looking down for my notes there. And it really, really works. Lemon balm, there's a couple of different things, but L-theanine seems to be the one that's in most things, and it does work. I take them if I'm feeling a little bit, if starting to feel it coming on, and it really does calm the things down. But if you've got stress or anxiety, you should be taking magnesium. Everyone will tell you, in most cases, your body is missing magnesium, and when you get an anxiety or stress, it's because your body's out of tilter. Something's wrong with your body. Your body's off tilt. I got these terrible rash, well, not rashes. I got anxiety, allergy at one time, and my face would swell like the elephant man. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be disfigured. I mean, physically disfigured, as though I'd been in a terrible crash or something. And a few times I went to the doctor with it, and I waited until by the time I got to see the doctor in the mid-afternoon. I walked in and I sat down and he said, "Oh my, OMG," and it was like, you know, how are you? And he did an examination. He said, I said, well, it's gone down now. You know, but by the time it gone, I said, it's gone way down now. It's like 25% of what it was. And I always remember he said, well, the way you are now, I would send you to the emergency room for an adrenaline shot. He said, if you're 4 times that worse than that in the morning, you should really go to the emergency room. And I can't remember where I'm going with this, but because at the end of the day, what it came down to is I have allergies, but my body copes with them. But when I get really off tilter, one of them takes control. And this is what happens with anxiety. If you're getting anxiety, your body's off tilt. Something's wrong. You're missing something. You got too much of something. It's that balancing act. Too much something or not too little of something. So try and get the balance right again. Magnesium is one of the things your body could be missing. The next thing is vitamin B complex. I think it's B17 is one of the main ones. But vitamin B complex I take every day. Every day I take a multivitamin, which has everything in. I take a soluble one because the hard ones are not really very good for you. You either want a capsule one or a soluble one. I take a capsule multivitamin every day, very high rated. I take magnesium pills, high dose magnesium pills. I take vitamin D called the sunshine vitamin. It gives you a sunshine outlook, because this is what you get when you walk around in the sun. But if you don't walk around in the sun, if you're indoors a lot, or your body's just not producing it quick enough, vitamin D will help. Leucin, lactin, I think it's called. I take those as well. That's for your brain function. But magnesium, guys, is the one you should be taking if you got anxiety. The next thing is exercise. If you're having anxiety, get out and get some exercise. I know you may or may not feel like it. I always feel like it because I get that terrible fight or flight. I'll walk around for 7 hours when I've got anxiety. But just remember, you can win it. It's not there. I always say I'm fighting something that doesn't exist, because it doesn't exist. It's in my mind. Don't give it form. Anxiety is something that is invaded. It's an invader. Kick it out. It doesn't exist. Look at it from the outside. Look on it. Examine it. It's something. It's not you. At the end of the day, when you've got over the anxiety, it's no longer there. So it's not part of you. It isn't you, and it never will be you. It tries to take over. It's an invader. It doesn't exist, and that's what you got to keep in mind. It doesn't exist. don't give it thought. Don't put it into reality. I mean, this is probably the last time I'm going to ever openly discuss anxiety in my fight with it, because I will not give it airspace. I will not name it. I will not admit to it. I will not acknowledge it. I've had it in the last 2 or 3 weeks quite badly, but prior to that I hadn't had it for a year, and that wasn't a bad one. And prior to that it was probably 2 years before I had it. Before that I'd probably had it about every 2 or 3 months, or every month, or every week even. So it is achievable to get past it. It really is. And find out what's causing it. In my case, a lot of times it's allergies, and I think we've kept it under control a lot of the time by taking allergy tablets. Simple thing, I take an allergy tablet in the morning, no anxiety. I hope this has all helped. Please leave comments below. If you are boat vloggers, we're going to all happy from here on in. I'm going to do some shorts, so click like and subscribe, and do comment, guys. I don't want to feel as though I'm talking to myself. I don't want to feel as though I'm the only poor soul in the world with anxiety, because anxiety does make you feel very lonely. And my hat's off to Colin for coming out and telling the world all about his struggles. I think he did. I think he was very brave, especially as he's very high profile. I mean, we're not very high profile. We've got 9 subscribers, and guys, if you want to subscribe and hit the bell. We're trying to get up to some decent figures, but he is very high profile, and he put it out there to bring awareness out. And hats off to you, Colin. Absolutely wonderful, mate. But yeah, we're trying to build this site up now. You might have noticed, guys, we ain't got a narrowboat. There's no narrowboat here, but we are going to get a narrowboat. We're heading towards a narrowboat. It's going to be a journey, and what we're doing here is showing you all the dirt, all the grit, all the thoughts and patterns and everything that's going through our heads from day one. Because there's so many people who've got on a narrowboat and then tried to fill in a little bit backwards, like they do with Star Wars, you know, prequels. But we know where we're going. We know what we're going to do. We know we're going to make it. We know we're going to get a 57-foot narrowboat, and we're going to call it Mythwich. We know this. We know the layout of it. We know everything. So we've started way back here with these vlogs, and I don't expect to get hundreds of thousands of followers and thousands of views. But once we get to the point where we start vlogging and people go, oh, I wonder how they did it, we'll have a full library of how we did it, just for you and all our friends, because I think it's important that we fill in some blanks for people. Thank you for sticking around, if you stuck around to the end, and I do see who's been around to the end, believe me. And I'm probably last week's video, me and Kelly, the graph light like this, Kelly left and it went like that. I know, I'm not favourite, I know. I think it was the Space Buns that did it, you know, yeah, remember them? Yeah, I think that was what did it, but we're not going to go into that. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope to see you again. Press like and subscribe. Watch what's coming up. Next week is definitely going to be the model starting next week. We only didn't get there this week because I couldn't decide on the dimensions, because it's going to be an absolute scale model, and I'm having problems getting the full dimensions of all the different parts of the boat. If you know where I can get any dimensions, please leave comments below. And I'm having problems deciding on the exact style of the rear of the boat for us. If we go with the layout we want with a 57 foot, we only get a trad back, but we want a semi trad back. I'm trying to see if I can pinch footage from inside the boat to give us a bit more at the back. After all, I want to be outside, I don't care if it's raining. I want to be outside and enjoy the English countryside and the English weather. And if you think the English weather's rotten, go somewhere else, and you'll suddenly realise there's a lot to be grateful for in English weather. Thank you for joining us. This is me, Paul, from Our Changing Views, wishing you a great week, and I hope to see you again next week. Don't forget, we release them every Monday. Bye now.